Have you ever crossed paths with someone, and for a moment it felt like time stopped, like the noise of the world faded into silence, the chaos stilled, and all you could feel was this unexplainable pull, like gravity between two souls? It wasn't just chemistry, it wasn't just luck, it was something bigger, something cosmic. Carl Jung had a name for this phenomenon: synchronicity. A moment when your inner world collides with the outer world in perfect harmony. A moment that says, pay attention, this is not a coincidence. Because sometimes the people we meet aren't just people. They're mirrors, messengers, or even guides sent by the universe. They walk into our lives not by chance, but by divine design. And when the universe truly wants you to meet someone, it whispers through dreams, it echoes through repeated signs, and it nudges your soul with a quiet but undeniable knowing. In this video, we're not just talking about love or attraction. We're talking about soul-level connections, the kind that wakes you up, the kind that changes your path forever. So if you've ever felt like someone mattered too much, too fast, or too deeply, stay with me, because this is the message your soul has been waiting for. Chapter 1. The universe whispers, not shouts. Have you ever noticed that when something truly important is about to happen in your life, the world doesn't scream it into your ears? It whispers. The most powerful moments in your life don't come crashing in like thunder. They arrive like soft rain, tapping on your window while the rest of the world is asleep. And this is how the universe introduces you to someone who is meant to shake your soul, not with noise, but with silence. The first sign is never dramatic. It's not fireworks. It's not violins in the background. It's not even butterflies in your stomach. It's something deeper, something quieter. It's a stillness, a moment of calm, when everything else in your world fades out. Your mind stops racing, your insecurities go quiet, and in that moment, something inside you just knows. You meet them, and it's not about how they look or what they say. It's about the energy. It feels familiar, like you've met them before, even though you haven't. Like your soul has been waiting, preparing, hoping for this exact presence. That's not fantasy. That's not delusion. That's alignment. Carl Jung, the father of analytical psychology, once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." He believed that when your inner world is truly aligned, your fears understood, your wounds acknowledged, your truth embraced, the outer world responds. It reflects you. It matches you. And when that happens, the universe doesn't have to yell. It doesn't need to push or pull you, because your soul is finally ready. And the right person arrives, not to complete you, but to mirror you. And here's what most people miss: a true connection, one that's divinely timed, doesn't just show you love, attraction, or beauty. It shows you truth. That person becomes a mirror. Not a mirror that flatters, but one that reflects your shadows, your depth, your light, and your potential. You don't just see them. You see yourself through them, maybe for the first time in your life. This isn't infatuation. This is transformation, and it all starts with a whisper. Chapter 2. The synchronicities are too precise to ignore. You think about them, and suddenly they text you, not hours later, not the next day, but right there, in that moment, as if the universe read your mind. You open your phone, and there's a missed call from them. Or maybe you're having a rough day, lost in your thoughts, and the next song playing on the radio feels like it was written for you, about them, and you pause, goosebumps, because it feels like something or someone is trying to speak to you. And it doesn't stop there. You walk into a crowded place, a train station, a bookstore, an airport you've never been to before, and somehow they're there. You lock eyes, and it doesn't feel like a coincidence. It feels orchestrated, like life was waiting for this exact moment. You start to notice a pattern. You see their initials in strange places. You hear strangers say their name in passing. You're not looking for signs, but the signs are looking for you. These aren't random glitches in the matrix. These are synchronicities, one of the most powerful ideas Carl Jung ever gave the world. He defined synchronicity as a meaningful coincidence of two or more events where something other than the probability of chance is involved. In other words, These events aren't causally connected, but they're so deeply meaningful you can't ignore them. It's like the universe is tapping you on the shoulder, whispering, "There's something here, pay attention." And here's what most people miss. These signs don't happen to everyone. They happen to people who are becoming conscious, people who are aligning with their truth, people who are starting to awaken to something greater than logic. Because when your inner world, your values, your desires, your soul is in alignment, the outer world begins to respond. And that response is often a person, a soul, a mirror, a presence that keeps showing up, not to confuse you but to awaken something in you. This isn't about superstition, it's about a kind of soul-level intelligence that speaks the language of symbols, patterns, and timing. When you're off track, the universe blocks paths. But when you're aligned, it clears the way. And sometimes, it sends someone into your life who defies logic. Someone who makes you feel seen without a single word. Someone who feels familiar, even though you've just met. Someone who activates something deep within you. Something buried, something sacred, something ancient. And you don't know why. But you can't stop thinking about them. You feel drawn, connected, even challenged in ways you can't explain. You might try to run from it, you might doubt it, you might even deny it. But the universe, it keeps whispering back, through moments, through sign, through that unshakable knowing that this isn't just anyone, this was written. Chapter 3. You don't just see them. You see yourself falling for someone often feels like magic. But what if I told you it's not just about them, not their smile, not their presence, not even the way they make you feel. It's about what they awaken in you, deep beneath the surface, where memories live, where wounds sleep, where the parts of you you've buried are still waiting to be seen. Sometimes we don't fall for a person. We fall for the version of ourselves that comes alive when they walk into the room. Carl Jung called this projection. It's one of the most misunderstood but powerful ideas in psychology. You see, every one of us carries two versions of self. The self we show to the world, and the self we hide even from ourselves. The shadow, the light, the pain, the brilliance. And when someone enters our life, we unconsciously project all of it onto them. The good, the bad, the broken, the divine. That's why you feel instantly drawn to certain people, not because they're perfect, but because they carry something your soul has been searching for, something you lost, something you suppressed, something you never had the courage to face on your own. Maybe you admire their independence, because deep inside you've always felt trapped. Maybe you envy their emotional calm, because your inner world has been chaos for years. Maybe you fear their distance, because it reminds you of someone who once abandoned you. They don't just reflect your desires, they reflect your wounds. And in that reflection, you see more than just a face. You see your story, you see your patterns, you see the fears you never voiced, you see the love you never gave yourself. This is where it gets uncomfortable, because real connections don't flatter your ego, they confront it. They shake your comfort zone. They show you where you bleed. They show you where you need to heal, and that's why soul connections are never easy. They're intense, they're messy, they're raw, but they're real, because they bring you face to face with you. Not the polished version, not the version people like on social media, but the version that cries alone at night, the version that still grieves the past, the version that's waiting, just waiting, to be acknowledged. Sometimes you meet someone who feels like home, but the truth is they're not your home. They're the mirror reminding you to go back home to yourself. And here's the wild part. You don't always end up with that person, but you always end up changed, because they cracked something open in you. They reminded you of who you could become. And that reflection, it never fades. So if someone made you feel more alive, more vulnerable, more seen than ever before, don't just ask, why did they come? Ask, what did they awaken in me? Because maybe, and just maybe, they came not to stay, but to introduce you to you. Chapter 4. The pain is proof of depth. Here's a truth most people never tell you. When the universe sends someone truly aligned with your soul, it won't always feel like a fairy tale. It won't always come wrapped in peace, comfort, or butterflies. Sometimes it feels like fire. Sometimes it feels like everything inside you is breaking apart. Not because they are wrong for you, but because your soul is finally waking up. When someone touches your soul at a deep level, they don't just bring joy, they bring clarity. And clarity is often painful, because now you can finally see what you've been avoiding for years. The walls you've built around your heart, they start to crack. The wounds you buried so deep you forgot they existed, they rise to the surface. The coping mechanisms you called strength, they begin to fail. Why? Because real love doesn't play by the ego's rules. It doesn't show up just to make you feel safe and comfortable. It shows up to make you whole. And to become whole, you must confront the broken. You start asking questions you've never asked. Why am I scared of being abandoned? Why do I push away the people who care? Why does vulnerability feel like danger? And you realize you're not just falling for them. You're falling into your unhealed self. Carl Jung said it best: one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. In other words, you don't heal by pretending to be okay. You heal by facing what's not okay. And sometimes the person who makes your heart race is the same person who holds up a mirror to the pain you've refused to look at. They don't hurt you intentionally, but their presence reveals what still needs healing. Maybe their emotional distance triggers your childhood fears of rejection. Maybe their strength exposes your hidden insecurities. Maybe their silence reactivates old memories of being ignored, unseen, or forgotten. But that doesn't mean they're the enemy. It means they're your teacher. And real relationships? They're not just about love, they're about growth. Because love isn't supposed to just make you feel good. It's supposed to make you better. Every trigger they awaken is an invitation to heal, to reflect, to evolve. And that's why pain is not the end of the story. Pain is a beginning, the beginning of deep inner work, the beginning of transformation. You start journaling again. You start asking deeper questions. You begin to notice your patterns. You finally learn how to love yourself, not because someone told you to, but because your soul now demands it. You stop running from the past. You stop blaming others. You take responsibility. And in doing so, you grow in ways you never imagined. This pain, it's sacred. It's proof that the connection was real. Because superficial connections don't shake you like this. Only soul-level encounters do. And as you heal, you begin to feel a strange kind of gratitude. Not because it was easy, but because it was honest. Because it changed you. This kind of love becomes your spiritual teacher. And the relationship, whether it lasts or not, becomes your greatest classroom. Not every love story is meant to stay, but some are meant to break you open, so you never live numb again. So the next time you feel pain after meeting someone profound, don't curse it. Don't run from it. Don't numb it. Honor it, because that pain is not a sign that something went wrong, it's a sign that something finally went deep. And depth, that's where real healing begins. Chapter 5. The Shadow Awakens in Destined Love. Every single soul carries a silent storm inside it, not the kind that destroys cities, but the kind that silently destroys self-worth. This storm is made of pieces we try to forget, the jealousy we suppress, the neediness we're ashamed of, the fears we bury so deep even we forget they exist. This is what Carl Jung called the shadow, the hidden self. Not the version you show on social media, not the version your friends praise, but the version you meet in silence. The one that cries alone, that flinches at abandonment, that panics when someone gets too close. And for most of our lives, we keep this shadow locked away. We hide it behind jokes, behind confidence, behind fake smiles and filtered lives, until one day, someone walks in, and not just anyone, a soul connection, a destined presence. They don't just walk into your life, they walk into your unconscious, and suddenly, the shadow you buried begins to stir, not to punish you, but to finally be seen. You start to feel things you don't understand. You get jealous even though you've always called yourself secure. You become needy even though you've built your identity on being independent. You fear losing them, even though you swore you'd never rely on anyone again. And in that confusion, that emotional chaos, you begin to ask, why am I like this? What's happening to me? Here's what's happening. Your shadow is awakening. And it's not a breakdown, it's a breakthrough. This person didn't cause the storm, they revealed it. Because their presence is powerful enough to pull your truth to the surface. That's what soul-level love does. It doesn't just celebrate your strengths, it triggers your wounds. It shows you what you've hidden from everyone, including yourself. But here's the shift. Not every emotional storm is a sign of something going wrong. Some storms come to clear the air, to shake off the dust, to cleanse your soul of the weight it should have never carried. And some people, they don't enter your life to complete you. They enter to reveal you, to tear down the emotional walls, to crack the armor, to whisper, "Look, this is who you really are. This is where it hurts. This is what you need to heal." Destined love isn't about comfort, it's about confrontation. Not in a harmful way, but in a sacred, soul-evolving way. It says, here are your patterns. Do you want to keep them or do you want to grow? Here's your fear of abandonment. Will you keep running or will you learn to trust? Here's your need for control. Will you keep gripping or will you surrender to something deeper? And in that choice, growth is born. The shadow, once your enemy, becomes your teacher, and the pain, once feared, becomes your mirror. You start to love the parts you hated. You begin to hold space for your own fears. You stop apologizing for being too much, and instead start healing the reasons why you ever believed that. This is what destined love was meant to do all along. Not give you a perfect partner, but return you to your whole self. So the next time someone walks into your life and shakes everything, don't run. Sit with the discomfort, listen to the shadow and realize, this love wasn't here to finish your story. It was here to help you rewrite the first chapter of your real self. Chapter 6. Not all destined encounters are forever. There comes a moment in your spiritual journey where you realize, not everyone who enters your life is meant to stay. Some people come in like storms, loud, powerful, unforgettable. Others arrive like soft winds, gentle, calm, and healing. But whether they come with thunder or with silence, they carry one thing in common. They don't arrive to complete you. They arrive to change you. We're taught to chase forever. Movies, songs, stories, they all worship the idea of happily ever after. But what if the most profound souls you meet in this life were never supposed to stay? What if their role was not permanence, but awakening? They come to touch a part of you that no one else ever could, to stir something ancient inside your soul, to unlock emotions you've never allowed yourself to feel, to challenge your beliefs, to expose your blind spots, to mirror your truth, even the parts you're too afraid to look at. And then they leave, or life creates distance, or you're forced to let them go. And the first instinct? You feel broken. You question everything. You wonder, was it real? If it was meant to be, why didn't it last? But real doesn't always mean permanent. Carl Jung said something timeless. The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. That's what a destined encounter does. It transforms you. It doesn't always fit into your timeline. It doesn't always meet your expectations, but it leaves fingerprints on your soul forever. These people don't come to fulfill your fantasies. They come to burn away your illusions. They shake your soul. They pull you out of autopilot. They trigger the growth that comfort never could. Maybe they taught you what love really feels like. Maybe they showed you the parts of yourself you still need to heal. Maybe they inspired you to pursue a life you were too scared to imagine. And maybe, just maybe, their greatest gift was the pain of their absence, because that pain became your teacher. Pain, you see, isn't always punishment. Sometimes it's sacred instruction. These soul encounters remind you that real love isn't always about ownership. It's not about forever. It's about evolution. You don't always marry the one who awakens your soul. Sometimes you meet them to remember who you are, to realign your spirit, to prepare you for the next version of your life, a life you couldn't have built without the inner shift they ignited. And as painful as that sounds, it's also liberating, because you start to realize letting go doesn't mean you failed. It means the contract of the soul was fulfilled. That's the difference between attachment and awareness. Attachment begs, why can't we go back? Awareness whispers, you've outgrown that chapter, and it's time to move forward. So no, not all destined encounters are forever, but they are never wasted. They are written into your soul, etched into your evolution. carved into your memory not as regret, but as sacred reminders of how far you've come. And one day, you'll look back, not with pain, but with peace. Not with longing, but with gratitude. Because you'll realize they didn't come to stay. They came to set something in motion. They came to awaken the next version of you. And in that awakening, you found the most powerful love of all. The love you give yourself when no one else is around. The love that no longer chases, begs, or clings, but trusts, surrenders, and evolves. And that is the true purpose of destined love. Chapter 7. The universe sends people. When you're ready, not when you're desperate. There's a spiritual law that doesn't bend to your timelines. It doesn't obey your loneliness. It doesn't answer your midnight prayers out of pity. It waits. Until you're ready. Not when you're desperate. Not when you're begging. Not when you're clinging to someone to fill your emptiness. Because the universe doesn't send your mirror when you're still drowning in illusion. It sends your lesson. And here's the harsh but liberating truth. If you're still lost in self-doubt, still chasing validation, still craving love to escape your own reflection, you will attract not a soulmate, but a mirror of your chaos. Not a divine connection, but a test disguised as romance. Because life doesn't respond to your words, it responds to your energy. Desperation attracts confusion. Lack attracts more lack. Fear attracts cycles that repeat until you finally say, "Enough. I want to heal." That's why people come into your life and break your heart. Not because the universe is cruel, but because your soul made a silent request. Teach me what I haven't yet learned. So when you're still operating from pain, from avoidance, from fear, the people who show up will reflect that. They'll be inconsistent because you haven't found your own stability. They'll be emotionally unavailable because you're still emotionally wounded. They'll confuse you because your inner world is still clouded by doubt and noise. But then, something shifts. One day, after all the heartbreaks, all the sleepless nights, all the self-betrayals, you stop chasing love. You stop begging for someone to see you. You stop performing for connection. And instead, you turn inward. You sit in silence. You face your wounds. You begin the slow, sacred process of becoming whole without anyone else. You stop asking, "When will I meet the one?" and start asking, "What parts of me have I been running from?" You stop fearing being alone and start falling in love with your own peace. And that is when the universe responds. Not with noise, not with fireworks, but with alignment. It's not loud. It's not chaotic. It's not a dopamine rush wrapped in red flags. It's subtle, quiet, clear, like the soft vibration of a piano string finally resonating in tune with another. Like two souls humming the same ancient song after lifetimes apart. You won't feel the need to chase it. You won't overthink it. You won't question your worth in their presence, because they won't come to complete you. They'll come to walk beside the version of you that already knows, "I am whole. I am ready. I am no longer afraid of my own reflection." This is what true love feels like. Not addiction, not obsession, not chaos, but resonance. And from that moment forward, your life will never be the same. Not because someone saved you, but because you finally saved yourself. And the universe. It simply responded to your healing. Because that's how it works. You don't get what you want, you get what you're aligned with. So heal, grow, let go of the noise, and become the version of you that no longer begs for love, but attracts it effortlessly, simply by being true. Conclusion. Not every encounter is coincidence. The next time you meet someone and something inside you shifts, when your breath catches, when the world slows down for a second, when you feel something unexplainable move through your chest, pause. Don't rush to define it. Don't force it into a label. Just feel it. Because not every spark is romantic, and not every connection is forever. But every soul you meet carries meaning. Sometimes they come to show you your strength. Sometimes they come to awaken your weakness. Sometimes they come to remind you of your worth. And sometimes They arrive to teach you how to walk away from what no longer serves you. So ask yourself, not just, who is this person to me, but what are they showing me about me? Is it joy? Is it fear? Is it peace? Is it an old wound resurfacing, begging for closure? Because people aren't random. They are messengers. From the universe, from your higher self, from the version of you that already knows what you truly need. The universe doesn't send you who you want in moments of loneliness. It sends you who your soul needs in moments of readiness. Some come to shake you. Some come to heal you. Some come to break the illusions you built around your heart. But all of them, yes, all of them, come to guide you one step closer to your truth. So the next time someone walks into your life and stirs your soul, don't just react, observe, listen. Because the universe speaks in energy, and it's not shouting, it's whispering. And those whispers, they only make sense to the version of you that's finally ready to hear. So tell me something real. Has the universe ever sent someone into your life, someone you weren't expecting, someone who didn't stay forever but changed everything? Maybe they walked in during a storm, maybe they left before you were ready, but something about them, their presence, their timing, their truth, left fingerprints on your soul that still haven't faded. If someone just came to mind, drop your story in the comments, no matter how big or small. I read every single one, because this channel isn't just about messages, it's about connection, your connection, our collective experience. And if this message touched something deep inside you, if it made you pause, made you remember or made you feel just a little more seen, then don't let it stop here. Hit that like button, subscribe, and share this with someone who believes in more than just random moments, someone who knows that when the universe speaks, it doesn't shout, it whispers, through timing, through feelings, through people. And today, maybe it whispered through you.